Okay, so this goes on to say that stock to flow recognizes that economic utility of a consumable good is realized when the good is used, but the utility of the investments with the high stock to flow ratio lies in the storage and eventual resale. But anyway, the key thing to look at here is this chart here, this table here. So pre-halving, the stock to flow for gold is 63 and for Bitcoin is 27. But post halving, so May 20th, the stock to flow for gold will be 63 and the stock to flow for Bitcoin will now be 55. So Bitcoin is now getting more and more scarce and it's going to be almost exactly like gold. And then if we look into the next halving, it's going to be even more scarce than gold. So the whole narrative of Bitcoin becoming digital gold post halving becomes even more real. So I definitely encourage anybody out there to go do more research into stock to flow. But I mean, this is vital, right? So just to kind of recap what this says, this is really a way of measuring how scarce something is, right? So if we read here, right, in large part, gold's value holds well over time due to its scarcity, commonly measured by the stock to flow ratio. The SF ratio quantifies the scarcity of an asset, measured by dividing an asset's total circulating supply, the stock, by the amount produced annually, the flow. So this is something I think that was made popular by Plan B on Twitter. And I think looking at this and looking at all the other assets, I know in some past shows we have covered palladium, platinum, and silver. But as we can see, Bitcoin is already more scarce than those. The only other asset or commodity Bitcoin hasn't really surpassed has been gold. But by May 20th, Bitcoin will now be close to gold. And we anticipate by the next halving will be even more scarce than that. So, Bill, any comments or thoughts on the stock to flow model?
Sure. Yes. So the first one is very simple. Good luck getting your hands on physical gold. Good luck getting your hands on physical silver, right? I mean, physical, silver trades like 14, $15. If you want an actual silver coin, you're going to pay $20 an ounce. And physical gold is just gone, right? And there's a whole story behind, why physical gold literally is so precious, especially since there's an anomaly between the price of physical and what the paper markets say it is. So if you can't get hold of physical gold and you can't buy groceries with silver coins, then Bitcoin not only has a scarcity value, it's something you can get your hands on by opening an account, okay? And you might be able to buy something. So if you put all this together with the stock to flow research, right? Again, if Bitcoin is as scarce as gold and no one's getting their hands on gold, Bitcoin may become the default choice, not to mention the fact that crypto could become a future financial ecosystem. And I got shouted down on that one last week, but I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, well said, well said. So, I mean, because having more research, things like this is definitely what makes you have the confidence and fortitude, as we mentioned earlier in the show, to be able to weather the storm through things like this, right? So, because if you're in this for the short term and you've not done your research, you'll panic sell. And for anybody, because all of us here, we're in crypto for the long term. So we have more fortitude when it comes to panic selling and buying the dips, moments like this, because we've done our research and we're long term bullish on crypto. So going back to the person's question earlier, will QE and all this money printing um, create really create a hyper cycle for crypto? I mean, I think yes. I don't know if I would call it a hyper cycle, but I would just say it makes us more bullish long term on crypto. I mean, because if we this was a very interesting week. We had Paul Tudors, who's a big Wall Street investor, state that his fund now is investing up to single digit percent into of the portfolio into crypto or Bitcoin. And I think this was really a big endorsement for crypto and Bitcoin. Bill, what's your take on this, on that recent news?
Sure. So you know, obviously, you know, if I was as successful as Tudor Jones, we could have this meeting on my yacht, right? But
Yeah.
that said, we're cut from kind of the same old school market cloth, right? So guys like him, there's just not a lot of guys like him out there, right? And for a guy like him to look at a range of asset classes, right? A classic hedge fund manager, right? Which keep in mind, you know, these guys have been, you know, it's been hard for them to keep up with an equity market that goes up and up and up. And now it's sort of their time with all this craziness. So when he says, I want Bitcoin, that means he's like, you know, I want something that if the market goes thumbs down on what central banks are doing, that part of my portfolio goes up. That's what I think he's saying when he comes out with crypto. Okay. And that's very powerful for us, naturally, because we've been thinking that the whole time, right? That's why crypto was invented. But to get validation from him, okay, is a big deal. Now, one final comment. There's a monkey see, monkey do element to this. Let's say Tudor Jones comes in and buys crypto and he's right. Okay. Like we said, if he's wrong, it's a short show. What if he's right? Then all these other big guys may have to follow. Something to think about there.
Yeah. And for anybody out there who's a fan of the show Billions on Showtime, great show, by the way. For anybody who's an investor, great show. So the first episode from last week was basically a crypto show where, I mean, I don't want to ruin for anybody who's not watched the show, but I mean, the first episode was about crypto. And this is a pretty popular show. I think this is the fourth season, I believe, fourth or fifth season. So it's been going on for a while. One of my favorite shows. Highly encourage anybody out there who likes shows like that to definitely watch that show. So it's good to see that now crypto is now getting more widely accepted and just used. All right, let us know what you think. Do you think we're do you think we're right? Do you think we're wrong? Do you think it's somewhere in between? Let us know in the comments below.